Welcome back to another edition of Slam Talk Sports. I am Slam. Yes, I am. It is 1:45 on a Friday afternoon here in beautiful Essendon, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And yes, it's time to talk a bit of AFL action. No EDFL commitments for this weekend other than tucking in to a steak sandwich down at Ormond Park in Moonee Valley. No, it's all about the AFL for me today, but I will have the man with his finger on the pulse in the EDFL, Mr. Eli Duxson, joining us on the call in just a few minutes' time. He's a massive Brisbane Lions fan, and we got to find out what happened last night at the Gabba. Yes, those Lions got smashed by those Pussycats once again. I'm struggling to understand what's happening with Brisbane so far this year. They've really been mixing their results. Wins over the Saints and the Pies and North and Adelaide, but losses to Geelong, Melbourne, Sydney and the Dogs. We've got to find out what's happening up there in Brisbane. We'll do that in just a second. But before we do that, you know where to find me. It is Slam Talk Sports on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, on YouTube, on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. But before I talk about myself over and over again, we got to talk about last night's game, and I got to ring my great friend, the always elite Eli Duxson, to talk about what the hell is happening. Sorry for swearing. What on earth is happening up in Brisbane? A devastating loss last night. Let's get him on the phone to explain everything.
Hello, Darcy.
It's good to speak with you, Eli. Is this Eli Duxson, the man with his finger on the pulse of the EDFL, but also the Brisbane Lions superfan?
Yeah, I think I fill both of those roles, although your words are flattering and I think a little bit too flattering, but I'll certainly take it. I won't argue.
Well, Eli, I had to get you on the show today because you're the only Brisbane Lions fan I really know. Up there in Queensland, we don't really understand what's happening with football up there. And last night's result, it was a bit of a stunner to me. Now, we spoke before the game happened. We thought there might have been a chance that the Cat Smalls got on top of Brisbane, but geez, it really played out in that way.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And the Zorko laid out didn't really help drive out of defence, but I wouldn't have helped our defence itself. And losing Starcevic was probably my biggest concern in the off-season. And unfortunately, that's what came to bite us. We didn't really have a small to medium defender. And no Ainsworth at the moment as well, unfortunately, as he still recovers from concussion. It meant that a lot of the load would have been on Darcy Wilmot, Jasper Fletcher, Kitty Coleman, who are attack-first defenders. So, well, maybe not attack-first, but primarily known for their drive out of our defensive half. So, yeah, that was an area I was concerned about. But as we also spoke about, that their small to medium forwards hadn't really taken the game by storm so far this year. Unfortunately, one of them did last night.
Yes, it was Sean Manor with 30 and 5. That's a Gary Jr. type stat line. They have 30 and 5 against that midfield as well, or at least your defence. Do you think the issues of the last couple of weeks are easily repairable? I'm looking at your injury list now, Eli. Allen out long term. Ainsworth had a couple of concussions now, so you can't really rely on him to play every single week. Ty Gallup, TBC. Lincoln McCarthy, who found a home down back, injured now as well. Jack Payne, Premiership player from a couple of years ago, been injured the last 12 months. Do you see these players making a big impact? Because a couple of them are still a couple of months away.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we've got concerns at both ends of the ground, unfortunately. Lincoln McCarthy may have helped with some of that defence-first mindset. We saw the role he played on Isaac Rankin after he got towed up in the first few minutes against Adelaide. And so he may have had an impact there, but probably not to the extent that would have helped us get over the line last night. The injuries are an interesting one because Jared Berry's another who probably will make an impact around the ground, but Eric Hipwood is the one that I'm sweating on at the moment. Not that he's been our hero and saviour in recent times. He's probably been one of the more maligned players across the Lions list, but you look at some of the numbers, like got on top in the clearances, especially in that second quarter, but throughout the game, he didn't really have a key target to kick to. If it's not Draper or Fort resting forward, Logan Morris is the main option. With Cody Curtin, who's playing game 2, game 3, and he's 18, 19 years old. He's not going to be that guy that you can rely upon. So, and he looked a little bit lost at times last night as well. So I think we just need that big target up forward that will just straighten things up a little bit, because we saw their defence Stewart early as well. He was superb. So, yeah, some of those ins will make an impact, but in the immediate future, there's got to be a lot more I think emphasis placed around pressure and defence around the ground because we got towed up on multiple occasions last night, and especially in that third quarter and the first two.
Well, you spoke about Cody Curtin. That's something you mentioned to me pre-game, the influence of Tom Stewart. He wound the clock back last night. He had a massive influence on that game. He was all over you. But more than so, I feel that some of your midfielders who have had, I know, very short pre-seasons because you've been in the last, 3 grand finals in the form of Dunkley and McCluggage haven't been at their usual impact. And what we're around 10 or 11, I only really see Lachie Neale out of your midfield group as having a great season so far.
Yeah, that's certainly fair as well. And McCluggage worked back into some sort of form against the All Boys, but
not hard.
But outside of that effort, he hasn't really gotten anywhere near it in terms of not just finding the footy, but the way he uses the ball as well. Oftentimes finding space in congestion, or there's been cleaning congestion. That kick going inside 50, he's the one that's where you really notice him, because multiple times throughout a game, he's like, look at that kick. That's amazing. So, yeah, you're right. Dunkley's defensive pressure has normally been a big one as well. And just being able to be maybe a bailout kick at times. He's a good marking option. He's not the guy you want with ball in hand in particular, but he's the one in tight and in close that's doing a lot of damage. And neither of them have really excelled at what they're good at so far this year. Neale has had an outstanding year. As you say, Ashcroft has had moments, but again, he's been inconsistent. So we've probably relied on too few. And in these games, that's when the players that are able to ride on the coattails of the stars start to get noticed. And I think we've started to see that in the second half last week. The game against Sydney was a bit of a write-off because we were depleted. But last night, that was as noticeable as you'll see for a lot of players who have been safe in a very good side. They've really got to start to lift.
Well, I'm looking at your results so far. You've lost to the Cats. You've lost to the D's. You lost to the Swans. You lost to the Dogs when they're up and running at opening round. It seems to be the teams that move the ball quicker against you, the ones that are challenging you. While you've beaten St Kilda, Collingwood, North Melbourne and Adelaide, they allow you and allow Zorko and Coleman and your halfbacks to control possession and really set up the game in your image. What's it gonna take to beat the better teams? Because I feel like it only takes one result. I cast my mind back to last year, Eli. It might have been the year before. You looked down and out and you went down to Geelong when no one gave you a chance and you beat them down there. That really catapulted you to that premiership. Do you think you need to take a scalp in the next couple of months, or it doesn't matter where Brisbane finish?
Yeah, look, I've had this conversation with many people because the general consensus early on as well, when it was starting to look a little bit dire early, we had the injury suspensions, was they'll go on a run. They'll do what they have to when they have to, but we really can't rely on that. It's getting to a point where you drop the next, 2 of the next 5 or 3 of the next 5, whatever it might be. He's starting to do a lot of work in the back end, and you really can't rely on that. So don't mind dropping games here and there, but it's just the way you drop them. You speak about the game last night. Never looked like it outside of maybe 15 minutes in that second quarter. And even early in the third, had some chances. Logan Morris missed one that he normally kicks. That would have brought it back to within a kick. Little moments like that, you look at, you've got to take those chances against the good sides. But outside of that, Geelong absolutely dominated us. Melbourne had their way with us for that second half, especially. Carlton had their way with us in that second half. And that Sydney one, I think outside of the first quarter, we might have won the rest of the game, or certainly won the second half there. So we ran that game out pretty well. It was just the damage was done by quarter time. I think we just got to. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not concerned about the losses. It's the way we're losing, and those losses will mount up soon. But we've got to fix the way we're playing first and foremost to give ourselves a chance and not get too far back. Come maybe 8-9 games left in the year. If the wild card actually might suit us, that may play into our hands. I don't think anyone would expect a team to win the premiership outside of the 8. But if we can stay within the top 10, we'll give ourselves every chance. But no, we've definitely got to do some work. We've got a few tough games to come. GWS, Freo, they're not going to be easy. So, they've really got to start to lift the way they're playing. And that starts with pressure around the ball. When Brisbane plays their best, they're absolutely smothering the opposition around the contest and not allowing them to get open and just absolutely swamp our defenders inside 50 because they like to take some position, they like to be aggressive, they like to intercept and rebound and build attack out of the defensive half. But you can't do that when you're seeing so much clean entry coming in, and Geelong were able to do that. And like their qualifying final last year, but absolutely swarmed. Hopefully, though, some of the issues that we're starting to see are able to be rectified now. When you start seeing them in finals, you have no chance to come back from it. So hopefully the coaching team can get to work and, just rectify some of those areas. But a lot of it starts with intent and pressure around the ball. Lost the disposal count, but we're 19 down in tackles, which was, that's pretty ordinary. Same thing happened against Melbourne. I think we ended up with 31 tackles for the game from memory, and you're not going to win any games with that sort of number.
Speaking of pressure, I mean, Sydney are one of the best teams in the comp for the last decade in pressure, and that's how they've been able to get themselves to the top end of the ladder. And we know how well Brisbane put the pressure on in the prelim final, in the grand final, got them to the biggest stage, and obviously going to win over Geelong. So to get that part of their game back, then they'll go a long way of rectifying what's been a spluttering start to the season. They're definitely not in a rut at all. They've got 6 wins. I think they'll still be a top 4 team. But yeah, they're not playing their best football at the moment. But speaking of pressure, Eli, before I let you go, no one's under more pressure than yourself on a Saturday when a whole suite of EDFL games are unfolding. Where will we find you tomorrow, great man?
I'll be at Kings Park Reserve, Gauze Country in St Albans to see the Saints play Rupertswood. I'll be doing special comments for that game with the wonderful Tyler Murray and Jimmy Martin. But we've also got another match of the day game, Division 1 double, Darcy, here in the EDFL. Taylor's Lakes will play Craigieburn. Lucky Rainers back for the Lions. They are in desperate need of a win, but Brandon Coletta is a big out for them. So Craigieburn going as the favourites, but Taylor's Lakes need to get their season up and running if they're to be the finals contenders. We thought they might have been pre-season, so plenty happening in the EDFL tomorrow, which will be pretty exciting.
Yes, some massive Division 1 showdowns. I'm looking forward to hearing you on St Albans and Rupertswood and Taylor's Lakes Craigieburn. Taylor's Lakes need to get going this season. They've started very slowly. I'll be out at Ormond Park to do a food review as Moonee Valley take on West Coburg. That'll be a little bit of fun, but also should be a huge encounter in the Division 1. Thank you for your time, Eli. Before I let you go, have you seen the outs for Deer Park? Am I on for another bank? Because they've got 9 of them, Eli.
They've got some big outs, got some handy inclusions as well, but I think those outs certainly outweigh the in. So Deer Park, their depth has been a big issue, so not looking good for them, I'd say.
No, it's going to be testing to lose the likes of McCarg and Johannesson and Ebinger. A couple of key outs with Deer Park. Interested to see how that one unfolds. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Eli. It's nice to be in the host chair for once and throwing the questions at you. I hope you enjoyed it.
No, great to be on the show, mate. Spoke to make my debut and hopefully feature a few more times throughout the year, but hopefully after some Lions wins, that'd be great.
Well, I looked at the fixture. You play Thursday night footy, I think, in round 16 and 17. I'll pencil you in for at least one of them, hopefully 2 of them. You play the Swans and you play someone else pretty decent as well, so hopefully you're up and running come round 16.
Oh, thanks, Darcy. I think it might be the Cats again, so hopefully better next time around.
Okay, did you manage to get Wilmot on the field, or we're not going to mention that?
Yeah, you might have put me up about making some pretty handy predictions ahead of the game, but Wilmot starting on was not one of them, unfortunately. So that also made the loss a lot more deflating, knowing that I've left 120 points on the bench.
How could we predict that he'd be the only Lion to score over 95 in the whole game? I didn't see that coming at all. Sorry about that. Thanks for being on the show today, Eli. I'll let you get back to work.
Pleasure to ask. Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Well, there you have the incomparable Eli Duxson. Great to have him on the show, talking all things Lions. Where else are you going to get the EDFL Media manager talking about his Brisbane Bears / Fitzroy Lions? You won't get it. You only get it here at Slam Talk Sports. That was your Thursday night recap. Let's talk about the rest of the games in round 10. Sir Doug Nicholls' Indigenous round. Let's get it started.